listening to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Вы слушаете ваш мозг на воздухе. Программа начнется в ближайшее время. Наслаждаться.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, Ollie Vogt Larson, and I speak 5 languages. I speak Hebrew, English, Russian, Spanish, and one more that I can't speak about. Folks, happy Monday. I hope the weekend has treated you well. What is there even to discuss in the news today? Honestly, it feels like such a quiet and calm week. Just the week before our 250th, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening from the United States. Honestly, there is quite a bit in the news, quite a bit. You just have to sift through. You got to find the best ones. Like, how about this one I found over the weekend? Like, just the last 24 hours, actually. Alex Cooper, 31-year-old Alex Cooper. She looks older. Oh, my goodness. American podcaster and overuser of chin and lip filler. Alex Cooper, host of Call Her Daddy, the podcast. If I'm being honest with you, I don't know very much about it. I've never listened to an entire... Oh, wait, no. I listened to the Kamala episode. I remember I had to download Spotify in order to listen to it because I was so curious what the linguist that we know Kamala to be would have to say in obviously those trying times right before the election. I think it was right before the election. Yeah. But listen, Alex Cooper, she's having some trouble. She's been having a rough go of it. Accusations of a toxic workplace. A husband who works with her, who asks coworkers about their sex lives and berates others, herself turning out to be a bit of an Ellen figure behind the scenes once you get to know her. See, this is why I don't hire anyone. Podcasters, nobody should. No one should have to be subjected to my employment, just the same as she. She should have never employed a team herself. She should have it should have been her and her emotionally abusive husband. That's all those two deserve and need, and keep it small, and you can be as emotionally, physically reckless as you want. So, okay, Vanity Fair has this out. They actually reached out in order to get a comment from her, and she threatened that their days would be numbered if they ran this story. As a result, that only makes me want to share it a little bit more.
I'm Claire Malo, and I've interviewed 40 people, 30 plus of whom are former and current employees at Unwell, about their experience working for Matt Kaplan and Alex Cooper.
What a on-brand name for her company, Unwell. She seems like a deeply unwell woman from the rare bits of her podcast that I have seen.
Alex Cooper is the podcaster behind Call Her Daddy, and she and her husband, Matt Kaplan, launched the Unwell Network, which is a Gen Z feminist media empire, together in 2023. Current and former employees describe a company where Cooper is indeed the talent, but where executive decisions are largely made by her husband, Matt Kaplan, who several described as having a leadership style that has felt like a volatile mix of unprofessional and caustic, at turns flirtatious or given to screaming. A former employee also told me, Matt will scream the worst things and say the nastiest things to you, and Alex would be there next to him, not defending anyone. One contract worker told me, what I found is, behind the scenes, there's this man, her husband, running around, wreaking havoc and making people cry, coward.
Listen, the first red flag for me, and there's nothing wrong with people trying to... I understand feminism has got a lot of people. Most of them believe, especially if they're not like fourth wave feminists, they don't believe in the overturning of a lot of modern norms. They believe in the good of family. They just believe in the idea that women should be allowed to vote and all this sort of stuff. So listen, there are degrees of feminism that certainly exist, but the moment that you hear a company align itself openly with feminism, it's sort of like hearing a company come out and say, we're in favor of men's rights. The moment that you come out in favor of any one particular gender, I immediately start to feel suspicious of your motives. That's just a personal red flag for me, but in any case, I don't know, just immediately the aligning yourself with this, oh, we're this boss girl brand, and then here my husband will get flirtatious with you, and then he will berate you a second later. That feels very on brand for like this open, we're so pro women. Anyone that's like so pro women they have to say it is honestly probably the biggest, it's the deepest like a wolf in sheep's clothing atmosphere of those people. They're just sort of, I know exactly who you are.
What I found is, behind the scenes, there's this man, her husband, running around, wreaking havoc and making
He
people
seems
cry,
great.
cower in fear. For many employees, this was their first job. They're young women who had grown up listening to Alex Cooper's podcast, and what they found most of the time was that they were working much more closely with her husband, who would often...
That is so feminist of her. Honestly, it's like he's the boss. He's the rule maker. He's the one. It seems like he's really the CEO of this company.
Berate people ask them inappropriate questions about their sex lives, and even when they didn't know.
I've heard him in the office be like to employees, "Who did you have sex with this weekend?" Says one former employee, he'd be like, "What did you do this weekend? Who did you fuck?" Another recalls. Several describe him as commenting on their physical appearance, remarking on whom he found hot or overweight, noting how their clothing looked and fit. Wow. Others describe instances where they felt Kaplan stared at them too long, or when a hand on a thigh or the back of the neck had lingered.
Exactly where the line was. They often left feeling like there was a line crossed. Amidst my reporting, Vanity Fair received a letter from the attorney Brian Friedman on behalf of Cooper, Kaplan, and Unwell. If the story so much as suggests any sexual impropriety on Mr. Kaplan's part, I will make it my life's mission to ensure Vanity Fair's days are numbered. Cooper.
Wow. Okay, so sent on behalf of Cooper, Kaplan, and Unwell, accusing the magazine of assigning this story to a novice journalist, alleging that I have connections to Earl, E-A-R-L-E, and, quote, direct competitors of our clients in the podcasting and influencer spaces. The letter included a threat. If this story so much as suggests any sexual impropriety on Mr. Kaplan's part, I will make it my life's mission to ensure Vanity's days are numbered. Vanity Fair's days are numbered, excuse me. Vanity Fair, I feel like that'll be able to stand up to Unwell, this brand I've never heard of before.
And Kaplan both declined to speak to Vanity Fair. You can read more of my reporting at vanityfair.com.
I would insist that you do, but listen, let's give Cooper the chance. Listen, she seems like a cunt, but listen, I don't want to be the type to not listen to women. I'm the type of person to say that Ghislaine Maxwell deserves her day in court and maybe to be free. Like, listen, we have to listen. We have to take all things into consideration. She just bleeds innocent woman to me. She wants to save the planet. If we let her out, I think that she'll just go back to saving the oceans or some shit. There'll be like pictures of her on Instagram every day, like cutting those 6-pack rings off of like a seagull's neck, something like that. And I think if we give Alex Cooper the same opportunity, I think she will also prove to be just as much a servant to society. So, call her daddy host, an entrepreneur. I love the way that the Wall Street Journal calls her an entrepreneur. Alex Cooper has responded to the allegations of a toxic work environment at her media company Unwell. Let's give her the floor, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to women.
Don't believe everything that you read on the internet, but I think everyone knows that at this point.
How do you reconcile the empowering feminist message of your brand with the allegations that were made in Vanity Fair that Unwell actually fosters a toxic workforce environment?
Great question. I will say that building a startup, there's so much growth that comes with that, and I am extremely proud of what
every single time that I hear this answer where people immediately go to, I'm really proud of what my company has done, it is the most media-trained PR answer you will ever hear. What I've heard from people who listen to this woman's podcast is they like how authentic this woman is. This woman couldn't bleed authenticity if she was on her menstrual cycle.
Startup, there's so much growth that comes with that, and I am extremely proud of what we have built at Unwell, and I will just kind of leave it at, don't believe everything that you read on the internet, but I think everyone knows that at this point.
Okay. There is clearly some employees that feel some way. Are these allegations, do you think, a statement more about how this generation of employees' expectations have just changed, or do you think...
Oh, they don't want to be asked about their sex lives at the workplace by the husband of the supposed feminist icon? I mean, yeah, they definitely, I think Gen Z, I guess, maybe has different expectations of the workplace. They don't want to be sexually harassed when they walk into the office.
Of employees, expectations have just changed.
Expectations have just changed.
Or do you think you have the real problem?
I think that we have done a really incredible job at Unwell, and I think if you walk the halls, there are so many people that are so happy to work at this company.
I'm sure they are.
I think, unfortunately, being a woman in this industry is extremely difficult because you're...
Whoa. The accusations were, kind of around the idea that you were a bit of a cunt, but guess what? We did that to Jimmy Fallon. Everybody knows he has a drinking problem. Everybody's known that since his days at SNL, and people still accused him of having an unfair, like a kind of a bad work work environment where it's like there's good Jimmy days, there's bad Jimmy days. People get this scrutiny when they're public figures. I'm sorry that you're a public figure, and I'm sorry that you have a media empire where you employ people now, but now there's a degree of like holding your feet to the fire to see if you react whatsoever, and you're reacting very poorly. There's an angle of sexism to this. Your husband is, maybe there's like a sex angle to this, not sexism, but there's definitely a sex angle to this because your husband is interested in other people's sex lives. That is definitely maybe a little bit of a thing, but she's going to pivot. She's going to go, nope, this is the Hillary Clinton loss because of sexism angle. This is all of this. It's because deep down, nobody wants to see a woman succeed.
To work at this company, I think, unfortunately, being a woman in this industry is extremely difficult because you're...
No, being an ugly woman in this industry is very difficult. And you are that. I'm very sorry. You're not attractive. You're like, I'm sorry to say this, you're a basic snow bunny. You're not that attractive. You don't have any sort of distinct features that I would call that. You look like someone who has human papillomavirus, which you've been public with having. I'm sorry, it very much, you just look like this kind of, you've been around the block. Is that one way to put it? This sort of like, you know what I mean? You know that look when you look at a shoe at Macy's backstage and it's really nice, it's in the box and it's like, oh, clearly it's like, oh, this is brand new off the stock, and then you look at a shoe versus that at like Goodwill where it's like, oh, the edges are just kind of, it's worn, it's like stretched out, there's like a definite, like the leather has just these wrinkles to it. There's a different effect with your presence in a room versus like, I'm not going to use any particular words, but like a cleaner looking woman. I'm sorry to say it. You look like a car with quite a bit of mileage on it. Is that one way to put it? I think you look a certain way. I'm just going to put it that way, Alex Cooper.
This company, I think, unfortunately, being a woman in this industry is
unfortunately, yes,
difficult because you're held to a complete different standard, whether it's a smear campaign being created for someone's narrative, whatever it be. Like, I think when you read lies about yourself to fuel something else that is...
This is 40 people that worked for you's narrative? Whose narrative is this?
Obvious situation going on. It's hard, but I think the reason that I've had success in this industry is I have really thick skin, and...
It shows. You got this, like, lizard skin.
I'm gonna keep pushing forward.
I'm proud of you, Alex Cooper. You can continue forward. You can continue forward being the woman icon we all know you to be. We love you. I will continue to listen to Call Her Daddy as often as I have been in the past. Ladies and gentlemen, how about the lavender marriage of Taylor and Travis? In all honesty, is anyone feeling like this is legitimate? I understand gay lore theories have been there everywhere. People have always been like, yeah, she's dating women on the side. She wrote a song about dating women and whatever. Whatever you want to say about her past. But Travis Kelce, it's weird how football fans are like, they're immune to seeing the fact that he is one of the gayest. He is gay 7 ways to Sunday. That's the best way I can describe his look, his demeanor. Everybody who kind of knows it. The people that don't know it, they just, maybe it's like the gaydar that only works for people in their generation, and then the gaydar is just kind of broken past a certain point. But don't get it twisted. This is the biggest lavender marriage we've seen since who married Elton John back in the day? Whatever. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. I'm excited for them because now they can move forward with this sort of Jada and Will Smith energy where maybe we're going to see like an open marriage declaration later in the future. It's going to be cool. It's going to be really cool. Unlike the heat wave that's hitting a lot of the world right now and the United States coming up for 4th of July. Heat stroke is going to be in this season, so keep an eye on your grandparents. It's going to be bad, apparently. So, nearly half of the country is on alert for dangerous, oppressive temperatures. Record highs expected in the west. Hot and dry weather is fueling deadly wildfires. Parts of the south are drying out after catastrophic flash flooding. At least 4 people have died there. Let's hear a little bit about what we have to look forward to. Well, you're getting ready for whatever. Maybe you do a barbecue. Maybe you do a day at the lake. Maybe you go out on a boat. You just get ready to, I don't know, maybe bring like a little fan with you or something like that.
This morning, millions bracing for a holiday heat wave ahead of the 4th of July. Forecasters warning of dangerously hot conditions with record temperatures soaring throughout the week. 139 million people are under heat alerts, from Minneapolis to Tallahassee, with the swelter extending into the Northeast.
Yikes.
New York City opening its public pools, with the mayor jumping in wearing a different kind of swimsuit. The week ahead expected to feel more than 100 degrees in multiple states.
How fun.
While out west, deadly wildfires raging across the Rockies, with more than a dozen fast-moving blazes burning through the region. Officials say 3 Colorado firefighters were killed and 2 others were injured over the weekend in a desperate effort to contain flames.
It is really hard to remember a time when the summers were not blistering hot. They're getting worse every single year. And listen, you can tell me La Nina, El Nino, whatever. The summers are getting worse. The winters are either completely disappearing, like not happening whatsoever, where they just kind of rain a little bit, or it's like blizzards every other week. It's like a decent. I don't know what the next winter or summer is going to look like at this point. Nobody does.
Along the Colorado-Utah border. In Utah, the nation's largest active fire already scorching 92,000 acres,
Yikes.
placing hundreds of homes at risk and prompting evacuations. One family's condo was completely consumed by the blaze.
There's nothing but cinder block foundations left.
Millions now under air quality alerts from California to Colorado. It comes as search and rescues are still underway in Kentucky, where catastrophic flash flooding overwhelmed the state over the weekend, killing at least 4 people and prompting dozens of water rescues. The governor signaling the end is near.
Everybody out there, stay safe. The rain is just about done in all of Kentucky, and then
No, he was signaling that we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
It's over.
Back here in Chicago, there will be little relief even when the sun goes down. Those feel-like temperatures will stay near 80 degrees even at night. That is concerning many officials who are telling folks, hey, check on your neighbors, stay hydrated, and stay inside
Hey,
as
yeah,
much as possible.
the government's not coming to save anybody, so it's your responsibility. If you know anybody who's old and they haven't responded to texts in a few days, it's your responsibility. Nobody's coming to save them. You know how the energy of nobody's coming to save you is being kept up right now? This is breaking. 5 hours ago, millions of Americans have lost the Affordable Care Act health insurance this year, as many are facing double or triple digit increases in their payment premiums. Listen, I want to make it clear, this is just one step closer to America apparently being great again.
Have been eliminated from Affordable Health Care Act
Yep.
insurance for this year, facing double or triple digit increases in premium payments. Elizabeth Schultze here with the details. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Hey,
Good
good morning,
morning.
George. This is the first time we are seeing how millions of families are losing their health insurance as costs go up. A new
Yikes.
government report shows about 19 million people were enrolled in the Affordable Care Act in the first 2 months of this year. That's down by 3 million people compared to last year. The Trump administration says this is because of its efforts to crack down on fraud. But healthcare analysts attribute this decline to soaring insurance costs after federal subsidies, which you'll remember were at the center of that record.
Well, you know, we have great self-reliance. Everybody's just getting less sick. That's the thing.
Government shutdown. Those subsidies expired at the start of this year. The nonprofit KFF says that the average premium right now is up 58% this year, from $113 a month to almost $180, and they do expect that millions more people will be forced to drop their coverage this year amid those skyrocketing costs. Michael.
All right,
Ladies and gentlemen, we are there's no turning back. We are on our way down the hill. And if you just like hold on to the cart, the vegetable cart, it might fall apart under the weight. It will honestly, the wheels are looking shaky, but you just hold on. That's all you can do right now is just hold on. Maybe you'll lose your health insurance. Maybe you never had health insurance in the first place and you've just been dogging it. Maybe you don't have car insurance. Maybe you're just being awesome. Maybe you're just living life on the edge. If that's the case, best of luck to you. I honestly understand your case. I get why you're living the way that you do right now with your hair in the wind, but listen, you're lucky that Obama's not here to bash you over the head for not having health insurance. You're lucky. You're lucky, ladies and gentlemen. At least you have the ability to not have health insurance anymore these days. It's fantastic. It's better than getting slammed for not having health insurance. Ladies and gentlemen, enough about the individual mandate. We got to get into Iran launching more strikes. Unfortunately, they're halting the talks in the Middle East. It's not fun. But following the American retaliatory airstrikes over the weekend, Iran's Parliamentary Revolutionary Guard claimed responsibility for direct strikes on Bahrain and Kuwait. They're aiming at areas most critical to the American forces, including the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet. In a dramatic, though, ultimatum, Tehran threatened a complete halt to the high-stakes peace negotiations if Washington does not immediately cease its military operations in the region. So, are we gonna pull out of the region just for this? We should have been pulled out maybe months ago. That's my argument. Maybe we should have never even attended this conflict because it wasn't our business. But I understand Trump was held in a corner there where it was like either you go in and you make a mess of your country in order to push forward our motives. Otherwise, we are going to go nuclear on Tehran. And obviously, he did not want the nuclear option, so he decided to kill a couple Americans in exchange. Listen, whether or not you agree with that decision, it's the decision that was put at his feet. I don't know whether or not his enemies were willing to use nuclear, but he certainly thought they were. He certainly thought that Israel was willing to go that far. The insider talk that we're hearing is that they were willing to pull the nuclear option on him, and this was, in exchange, the only way that he was going to be able to get out of Iran. The only way that he was going to be able to get out of the Iran situation in general. They knew that. They knew that he was going to be the only president they were going to be able to get to fold on this, but in all honesty, I don't know whether or not. I think Kamala, if she still won, I think that she would have been able to be broken on this situation. Iran is inarguably also an enemy to the Democratic Party. They're also the type to talk about how Iran chants death to America, how they are 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon. It is vital to the United States that they do not attain a nuclear weapon. I think there is a world where if Kamala Harris did win, she absolutely would have gone forward with the plan. I think it's just a plan that was put in place no matter who was set to be in power in 2025. I don't know if it mattered. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think it did. And in general, the weeks-old ceasefire framework mediated by international partners, that's still probably not happening. It's boiling over too much. The dispute regarding the Strait of Hormuz, the maritime energy choke point, newly signed memorandum of understanding was supposed to reopen the waterway toll-free, but the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi fiercely attested that Iran that must solely govern the corridor, warning that any U.S.-led attempts to bypass Iranian authority or expand alternative shipping routes near Oman would only invite further violence. Not fun. And in the crossfire, though, unfortunately, for the response from the White House hasn't been great. President Trump has issued a warning to the Islamic Republic over social media, accusing Tehran of blatantly violating the ceasefire agreement after a Panamanian flagged vessel oil tanker was struck. Trump declared that the United States may soon be forced to use the military to complete the job, and the commander-in-chief warned that in no uncertain terms, if American forces are pushed past the point of being reasonable, the Islamic Republic of Iran will no longer exist. So, that's not great to hear. Pakistan and Qatar have urgently called for an immediate meeting of a joint conflict control unit to pull both superpowers back from the edge. Hardliners in Tehran insist that the U.S. blockade on Iranian ports must be lifted before it can resume any talks. U.S. State Department officials maintain that technical teams are still on track to meet in the coming days. The global energy markets and military command centers are waiting on edge. I would imagine that the employees feel a little bit anxious. That's my guess.
The U.S. and Iran are engaged once again in hostilities just 2 weeks into a ceasefire agreement that is supposed to lead to peace. CBS's Aaron Navarro is at the White House with the latest details. Aaron.
Jarika, good evening. President Trump has threatened more military strikes in Iran, while Iran's Revolutionary Guard warned this weekend that American bases in the region will experience, quote, hell in the coming days, and that more ceasefire violations will lead to a complete halt of negotiations.
Yikes.
Early today, Iran launched missiles and drones towards U.S. military sites in the region. That prompted warning sirens in Kuwait. Iranian airstrikes also damaged this apartment building in Bahrain. The country is home to the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet. A U.S. official says no casualties were reported. Iran says they retaliated for this latest U.S. strike. Central Command says these included Iranian missile and drone storage locations after Iran targeted ships in the Strait this week.
Yikes.
President Trump wrote Saturday, it may come to a point when we are no longer able to be reasonable and will be forced to militarily complete the job. Control of the Strait of Hormuz remains the key point of tension. Washington has pushed for a lane along the coast of Oman to allow more traffic. But today, Iran's foreign minister said only they should have any control of the strait. U.S. lawmakers say the back and forth casts further doubt over the prospects for a peace deal.
Well, I just simply don't trust the Iranian leadership, the mullahs,
So things could be going better.
to live up to their commitments. We're already seeing it.
That deal could also be threatened by further clashes between Israel and Hezbollah. Hezbollah rejected a framework for peace signed by Israel and Lebanon on Friday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he is sending a delegation to Washington soon to advocate for Israel's security interests regarding the U.S.-Iran deal. Jericho?
Thank you very much, the team at, I forget which news agency. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to cover the next story. Bill Cassidy is blasting Trump and RFK Jr. as he's preparing to leave the Senate. Now, listen, Cassidy, he's joining the club, the growing club of independent-minded Republicans that are being pushed out of the party for defying the administration. And listen, I don't care how unfiltered he wants to be. I don't care how volatile he wants this transition to be. Before the recent, explosive thing that he had in the White House, his career was rooted in pretty standard partisan politics. And I don't want, he was Senate in 2014, I think he was originally elected. In general, I think it was the 2017 tax cuts. He confirmed all the judicial nominees, rolled back federal regulations. He did everything that the first administration wanted him to do. And, he was also notable for co-authoring the Graham-Cassidy bill, the Republican-led effort to completely dismantle the Affordable Care Act. And during this era, he was viewed as a team player. He worked well within the institutional boundaries of the GOP. He wasn't the type to step out of line. And the first major crack in the relationship with him, it started with the populist base back in early 2021 when he was just one of 7 Republican senators to vote to convict Donald Trump in his second impeachment trial. And even then, he wasn't able to convince me that he had good intentions. Listen, I understand that suddenly when people leave politics, they want to get really honest about things. And here he was on CBS's Face the Nation, wanting to pretend to be honest. Listen, he's a practicing physician, which I don't know how much that means anymore these days. And as a former chair of the Senate Health Committee, he directed most of his personal criticism at RFK Jr., which I'm not saying there's nothing to criticize there. There certainly is. He has no PR training. Why would he post a video of himself getting absolutely dogged on by those snakes that bit the shit out of his hands? It was embarrassing. I didn't understand it. I was like, where is the aura farming attempt even in this video?
Senator Bill Cassidy is strongly criticizing Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s job performance as Health and Human Services
What do you not like?
Here's what the medical director and Senate Health Chair...
He flipped the food pyramid. What is there not to love?
Public health, and you can see the administration, if you believe the press accounts, are trying to limit his range of activity. Polling shows that the American people understand that vaccines are important. And for someone to be out there...
Some of them...
not, goes against their experience. If you build public health upon...
He has not been... Okay, listen... People can think whatever they want to think about his past. People can think about what he has said on podcasts before. Absolutely. He has actually been still pretty decent on recommending the vaccine schedule. Unfortunately, that's actually broken a lot of people from his message. The people that were really far anti-vax, that's actually gotten quite a few of them off of his original message. They're like, we're redefining what Make America Healthy Again is, because they're the ones that are really concerned about, fetal DNA in vaccines, which maybe there's something to be worried about. Maybe there isn't. I don't know. They're the ones that have been invested in the autism scheme for the last few years. Listen, it was since the 2000s. They're the OGs when it comes to all this sort of stuff. So listen, I just want to hear the specifics. Well, get specific about what you're not a fan of him.
Not goes against their experience. If you build public health upon a foundation of lies, then you're going to have...
What are the lies?
The absence of adequate public health.
How is butter not good for you?
These comments come more than a year after Louisiana lawmakers delivered the key vote to advance Kennedy's nomination as HHS Secretary. You're looking at CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi. She joins us now from our D.C. bureau to discuss, Olivia, what appears to be an about-face. Good morning to you. How did the senator defend, then, helping confirm Kennedy, and what else did he say during this interview?
Well, good morning to you, Errol. Yeah, certainly notable that Senator Bill Cassidy was coming out against RFK Jr., especially after...
This guy was part of the crew. He was a part of the scheme, and now suddenly he doesn't want to be part of the scheme anymore?
Delivered the key vote
He's a rat.
that advanced RFK out of committee to then go on to become the Health and Human Services Secretary. The reason he said he did that, though, is because the White House was planning to make RFK Jr. be a health czar. And because of that, Senator Cassidy said he was faced with two options: either voting Kennedy into the role to be the secretary and have some guardrails in place where he would still have to answer to Congress, or risk not doing that and still have the White House appoint Robert F. Kennedy
Bobby answers to nobody.
Jr. to be the White House health czar and still be in that role where he could have the president's ear but not have any guardrails on him. So Senator Cassidy said, I chose the route with the guardrails. You can be critical of it, but I thought it was the best way at the time. This was a very wide-ranging interview that he did.
He knew exactly who he was nominating to health secretary. You know exactly who RFK is when you know him, and you either love him or you're not the biggest fan of him. It's one of the two extremes. And listen, I love him for who he is, the goofiness, the kind of elf-like personality he brings to things. He brings a whimsiness that not a lot of people have brought to the role of a health secretary. And listen, whether you love him or hate him, I think that we need more energy of people going, I started doing heroin, and then I went to the top of my class because I could finally sit still. We need people like that. We need people like that.
He was also very critical of the president on a number of issues. This comes after the two of them had a yelling match last week during a Senate GOP lunch, particularly over Senator Cassidy's vote on the War Powers Act. He was also critical of the way the president has treated Congress in general and the Senate, saying that he feels the president says that they're supposed to just act in accordance with his agenda and not question him. Take a listen to what Senator Cassidy said here.
What did you say?
Is a separate body, separate from the presidency. I think we're seeing that.
Do you think the president understands that?
I don't know if the president does. Sometimes he acts as if Congress is merely an appendage. And frankly, sometimes Congress acts like it's an appendage.
Appendage.
Now, Senator Cassidy is
This guy has appendages on his mind a lot.
Just a very small handful of Senate Republicans who have been very public in their criticism of President Trump, but he is also not going to be a senator much longer. By the end of the year, he will be out of his role. So, Errol, he is using that time, though, to speak out against the Trump administration. Very notable there.
Well, you know, he was a part of the scheme as long as it benefited him. And that's fine. That's fine. Everybody does it for as long as they do. It's like Goodfellas, you know what I mean? Eventually, if you want to be a rat, you can go tattle on your buddies. You can never go back into the life, though. So he can never go back into the life. He will be like a book writer on the outside from now on. Listen, I love it. Bill Cassidy, have whatever energy you want to bring to the role. I look forward to your podcasting career future. Ladies and gentlemen, though, we need to move on to the rapid fire section of today's headlines. There's a lot of things you need to know about in order to keep your media diet healthy. CERN is shutting down today. Very interesting. Probably going to split our universe again, as far as we know. The Large Hadron Collider, if you don't know what it is has officially halted operations to enter the Long Shutdown 3, LS3, a 4-year massive upgrade program expected to cost approximately 1.2 billion Swiss francs. The accelerator complex was shut down so engineers can transform the current LHC into a much more powerful high-luminosity LHC. Okay, the primary upgrade is to dramatically boost the collider's capabilities and significantly increase the number of particle collisions, luminosity. This will allow physicists to search for dark matter and explore for undiscovered fundamental laws of nature and generate up to 380 million Higgs bosons over its lifetime. Okay, well, if it splits our universe and there's more Mandela effects tomorrow, who knows? Who knows? Maybe the show will be entirely different for the rest of the time that CERN is shut down. It already feels a little bit different this Monday. Anyways, you know how it does feel different? There's 200 more people that have died in Spain. Maybe that's throwing off the energy. 200 people have died in just the past few days due to the European heat wave, the deadly heat wave. More than 90% of American homes do have air conditioning. Only 25% of homes in France do. And obviously, with people that are drowning, the level of like people that are just like, fuck it, I'll go swim in a river. Doesn't matter if there's going to be any currents that are going to whitewater pull me into some like sewer drain. It doesn't matter. I just need to cool my body. It's terrifying. I think the debate over it is quite frankly a little ridiculous. These people have been absolutely brainwashed by the climate crisis with the idea that if you get an AC, you're like some evil monster who wants to boil the planet.
Spain, more than 200 people have died in just the past few days. And here in France, 55 people have drowned as people seek relief from the heat.
Eloi is only 6 months old and should be at his Paris nursery, so his father, a high school teacher, can go to work. But neither place has air conditioning.
It's a furnace out there. It's a furnace, yes.
A furnace.
So they're here, inside a wedding hall that's been turned into a public cool room. The AC is keeping Parisians on their feet and paws amid this crippling heat wave that's exposed more than just tan lines. While more than 90% of American homes have it, here in France, it's only 25%.
Jesus.
Sometimes European regulations discourage it.
I literally forgot the AC on last night. I woke up, my apartment was 60 degrees. We have too much AC here.
Especially if it affects historic buildings. That even includes hospitals, like this one opened in 1854, where only the most vulnerable get rooms with AC. Says Dr. Sebastian Voicu.
So we do have air conditioning in the hospital, but not all the rooms and all the wards. And it's a historical monument. So
a historical monument?
We cannot have alterations that easily to it.
So air conditioning could save lives.
In circumstances like this, yes.
The mayor of Paris's 17th arrondissement told us the lack of AC is now a public health issue. So he's made a public show of personally delivering AC units to public schools.
A+. Listen, this is how the Europeans need to go. We need to Americanize the Europeans. I don't care what people say. We need to reconquer their culture.
Polling shows air conditioning has long been looked down upon as wasteful by an overwhelming majority in France.
It makes people too comfortable. I want people to be miserable. It teaches people about life. That is a Debbie Downer's way of looking at the world.
But amid the deadly heat wave, taboos are melting away.
Here in Paris, police have announced a ban on public drinking to help curb heat-related emergencies, as hospitals have warned that they are nearing a saturation point.
Well, listen, I actually want to play you one of these very public debates that are happening over across the pond. Maybe as an American, you're sitting in your beautiful, air-conditioned room right now, and you're going, man, can you imagine? You're probably having like a hot tea right now, and it's 90 degrees outside, but you're like, oh my God, it's actually a little chilly in here. It's 60 degrees, and you're having a tea this morning, or maybe a coffee, and you're going, oh my God, it's so nice in here. How can people be having a debate over whether or not this is a good idea? Well, they are concerned with the idea that if they are so decadent as to engage in the air-conditioned house, they will be personally responsible for destroying the planet, killing icebergs. It's just not true. And here we have a serious debate from Storm and Alexis. I think this is like a morning show or something over there. I have no idea.
Every other country in the world with summers as hot as ours runs air cons. No. You made such a generalization here.
What?
The poorest countries in the world, even India, the superpower, and most African countries have no access to domestic air cons. So you're saying every country in the world? That's such an outrageous generalization. The West, yes, because in the West we want never to be uncomfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable. Right?
But it's
we
more than
have to think of
Yasmin.
we have to think of the planet, and it won't kill us not to have.
It's killing some people.
Well, care homes, for example, where the most vulnerable are. Okay.
I want the majority of young people to be hurt. That is basically what she's saying.
Have facilities,
nurseries, schools,
and schools. if you want to put I don't have any
Hospitals?
Yeah. I think institutions are something else. We're talking about domestic use here.
Okay, but there's
this
also
is where
people live in domestic facilities.
I know, but we don't all have to have aircon.
What's wrong with that?
Same if it was about heating in the winter. Would you feel the same about that?
What do you mean?
It's a great comparison, the idea that if it gets cold, really, do we all deserve the heat? Do we all deserve heat? It's so decadent.
And what we're saying is to save energy, we potentially restrict the use of aircons.
Well, look,
Should we
all
restrict
the
use of heating
new
systems?
forms of heating, and certainly the use of the new technologies.
What?
I totally approve of them.
And actually, heat pumps are a way
I can't
of
do anything other than back whatever we're being told really works, because we've done nothing.
As far as I'm aware as well, heat pumps, which is the new source that the government wants us to install and everything, that can actually cool your home as well as heat it up. So there is actually an argument to say...
Oh, cool your home. I thought she said that can actually kill your home, but no, she just has a Scots accent.
That there are other ways and other methods we can use. Aircon might actually be a fairly old-fashioned way of cooling our home, so maybe we need to look to some of the more modern methods.
I mean, aircon units have developed quite a lot in the last few decades. They've become far more efficient, they use convection energy, they're completely electric, so there's no need to burn fossil fuels to run them. And I think that is being missed from this debate. I'm sure there's lots of ways of cooling a home. I'm sure a heat pump could work for some people. There are lots of situations in which heat pumps...
How about ice block? Like, in the 1920s when you would order an ice block, like in The Great Gatsby, and they'd chisel at it with a fan next to it to try to cool the whole room?
Don't work, which I'm sure you've covered on the show lots of times. Flats, for example, very ineffective. Anyone with copper wiring, there are problems with heat pumps. But I think we are vilifying air conditioning without any recourse to any science that says that people cooling their homes for a couple of weeks a year in order to stay healthy and comfortable and be able to sleep and not get unwell is bad for the planet. I don't think it's going to make the blindest bit of difference. And people...
I totally agree with her. And you know what? I would love to hear any conflicting debates on this. Maybe I exist too much for decadence. Maybe I just don't want to get heat stroke. Maybe I'm so young I don't even have to worry about it. It doesn't matter. Ladies and gentlemen, a FEMA official who claimed that he teleported to a Waffle House is now stepping down from his post. Now listen, Greg Phillips, a high-ranking FEMA official, he has reportedly been on leave after drawing controversy with his past remarks, including claims that he teleported to a Waffle House restaurant. Listen, I believe in the idea that these people, they get the chip in the brain, but before they get in the like veterans, some veterans where sometimes they have to make phone calls in order to get reprogrammed every couple hours. They that's the older school methods. That some of them just do MK Ultra mind-based mind control, but it's a lot of veterans who worked in services where they're like, we don't need you talking to your family about work stories or shit. We're gonna wipe your memory and then we're gonna make you kind of like this lobotomized patient a little bit, but then you'll still get to live. You'll be alive. You'll just have to, call us every couple hours. Otherwise, that chip in your brain is going to turn 500 degrees. So, listen. That is what we're dealing with right now, and I think this guy, before he gets the chip in the brain, he's going, I have to tell everybody the truth. The truth is, we are being teleported into Waffle Houses every day. You could be teleported because we have, there is interlinking of neurons we don't even know about, quantum interlinking, all this sort of junk.
He said he was teleported to a Waffle House.
I believe him.
It sounds kind of odd, but what makes this story even more out of this world is that Greg Phillips was a high-ranking FEMA official. Well, apparently he's now leaving the agency because, according to the Washington Post, Phillips stepped away from his role because of the bizarre comments and his claims about voters in 2016.
Uh-oh.
Now FEMA is confirming his departure and says he played a pivotal role in stabilizing the Office of Recovery and Response. Our Perry Russum has more for us.
What happened to him?
Greg Phillips, a high-ranking official at the Federal Emergency Management Agency,
Oh, he looks unwell.
has reportedly been put on leave after drawing controversy for his past remarks, including claims that he once teleported to a Waffle House restaurant.
It was an incredibly frightening moment to experience yourself in your car, flying through the air. Teleporting is no fun. I was with my boys one time, and I was telling them I was going to go to Waffle House, and I ended up at a Waffle House 50 miles away from where I was.
Phillips also claimed without evidence that millions of people voted illegally in the 2016 election, posting on social media at the time number of
Okay, this claim about non-citizens voting is going to be the craziest thing that he's ever said.
Also claimed without evidence that millions of people voted illegally in the 2016 election. Posting on social media at the time, number of non-citizen votes exceeds 3 million. The comments were made before the Trump administration appointed him to lead FEMA's disaster response team last December. A person familiar with the situation reportedly told the Washington Post Phillips has been asked to step away from his role because of concerns about how he's publicly perceived.
Wow. How is that a genuine cause for removing somebody if the entire Trump administration is the way that they are? All right. Republican Representative Thomas Massie lashed out after a Fox News digital reporter asked him about allegations made by a woman who claims to be his ex-girlfriend. The woman alleges that Massie offered her money and asked her to sign a non-disclosure agreement related to a wrongful termination dispute. All right. Let's hear a little bit about what Thomas had to respond with.
Clear up the stuff your ex is saying about you with the NDA.
Thomas Massie, this isn't even the weirdest thing about him. He's a Freemason or a member of the Order of Demolay.
You pressured her to sign an NDA for wrongful termination. What is that true? What's she saying about you?
Who are you with?
What's Fox Digital?
It's all false.
It's all false.
And what she said about you and Bobert having an intimate relationship?
Bobert?
It's all false.
Why do you think she's out there saying it? Was it because of the primary, ahead of the primary? What do you think is motivating it?
When did you all become a tabloid? Seriously, Dave.
Dude.
No, I just thought I would give you a chance to respond because you've never been able to tell your side of the story, that's all.
Oh, he's angry. He's just on his phone and angry.
Let me ask you.
Oh.
I heard that you like gay porn. Is that true?
I just want
Whoa!
Your side of it. That's no, I'm not going to get into that.
Are you a real news
I'm not going to get into that.
No, come back, man.
No.
You don't like it?
Congressman,
I'm
not. Of course I don't like it.
Really?
But thank you.
That's not what I heard.
Thank you for your time.
Yikes.
Just giving you a chance to respond, that's all. But thank you.
Listen, what a way to respond. You know, just to pull out your phone and go, do you like gay porn? I mean, what a weird accusation. Thomas Massie, what a homophobe. Oddly. What's so wrong about liking gay porn? It's pretty legit. All right. An initiative to repeal recreational cannabis use in Massachusetts is expected to be on the ballot this fall. They might be the first state to repeal recreational marijuana. Oh my goodness. Why would they do it? They said that actually making it illegal was an experiment. Let's hear what they have to say.
Massachusetts might become the first state to reverse marijuana legalization. They're going to end the experiment. Turns out legal weed causes a whole host of problems. Impaired driving, contact high for anybody outside, mental health disorders, out-of-control homeless populations. Now safe and healthy Massachusetts wants to, once again, outlaw recreational pot shops.
Why?
Did it roll out too fast? Are we living in the Wild West of cannabis? Should we take a step back? It doesn't change personal use. It doesn't change medical marijuana. In fact, the only thing it does do is shut down the recreational marijuana stores.
It's fair to say Wendy may not be the hippest of all spokespeople or front people for this movement, but hey, do what you can. Government Affairs Director at the Smart America's Approach to Marijuana, Jordan Davidson, is with us. Jordan, thank you. I understand you went to rehab at a young age, you're still a young guy, for dependence of marijuana. Would you say you were a victim of the legalization campaign?
Yeah, I think it's certainly the legalization campaign normalized marijuana to such a degree that when I was in my high school years,
I was a big
really
dork
struggled with marijuana use, particularly high potency marijuana. It became something in my mind that wasn't a big deal. Didn't think of it as a drug at all. And I think that really put me into a trap that unfortunately we're seeing a lot of young Americans falling into.
Yeah, the irony, of course, is that the people who for a long time wanted to legalize weed was called normal. That was the advocacy group. It would be sad to say, or maybe even reassuring, probably a better word, the opposite, that, hey, no one predicted that this could happen. But there were, in fact, an enormous amount of people who were ringing the alarm bells about what marijuana would do. Nobody would listen.
There's no doubt weed has its downsides, absolutely. However, if anybody has claims of it formulating dependency, absolutely. Maybe you have an issue with how much you can stick a pipe to your mouth and light it. Maybe there's issues with that. Absolutely. I am in favor of the idea of anybody being able to ruin their lives with anything. That's why I'm open to the idea of alcohol legalization. I think it's fine. I think it's fine that idiots are able to buy, a thing of alcohol and kill themselves with it in a night if they really want to. If they want to make that sort of a mistake, unfortunately. And you know what? I'm fine with the lethality rate around marijuana. I'm fine with the schizophrenia rates around it. I'm fine with everything that surrounds it. Unfortunately, and I understand it's a state by state thing. And if people want to say, "Hey, in our state, we just don't feel like taking that risk," absolutely, make it illegal in your state. That's fine by me. I will just make sure to hide it when I visit you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to move forward. I want to move on to this one. Brooke George, she is 23 years old. She's being held in Dubai, and she is facing execution under the United Arab Emirates laws if convicted. She's an influencer, allegedly being accused right now of killing her boyfriend.
An influencer from the UK is facing death by firing squad after being charged with the murder of her boyfriend in Dubai. 23-year-old Brooke George claims she stabbed her partner in self-defense. According to campaign
now, why'd you do that?
Dubai, they say Brooke claimed he'd become increasingly controlling and abusive on their second trip to the city, and that she was trying to leave Dubai after he violently attacked her and withheld her passport. In a statement, her mum said the day before the incident, Brooke was not herself, and that she believes she was desperately trying to get home and away from whatever had happened to her. Detained in Dubai say those closest to Brooke think she may have been lured to Dubai under false pretenses for the purpose of exploitation. They're calling for the 23-year-old to be released on bail and for the case to be dealt with as domestic violence. The UK government said it's supporting a British woman detained in the UAE and her family.
Well, okay, listen, in my view, I would never go to Dubai. I think it's your fault for going to Dubai in the first place. You can't even kiss in public in Dubai, which isn't even that bad of a law. I think that public displays of affection are kind of gross. Whatever. The U of M, the University of Minnesota, is set to raise tuition 3.8% in 2027. Now listen, this isn't because they're offering better courses. This isn't because their staff is growing. This is, as a matter of fact, their staff is reducing. They're actually going to cut a few jobs here pretty soon. And you may be curious, what is the actual reason behind the hikes in pricing? Now listen, it's not because of an increase in quality. It's not because of an increase in how much you'll be learning or how much you'll be attaining from this time in college. You're going to be paying more because they haven't been getting enough money handed to them.
The U will raise tuition by 3.8% for undergraduates and 3% for graduate students. The university cites several reasons for the tuition hike: higher costs due to inflation, investments in technology, no increase in funding from the state, and rising employee health costs. Last year, the U approved one of its highest tuition increases in years at 6.5%. More than 230 jobs are also expected to be cut in the U, with 165 coming from academics and 64 from support roles.
So they're cutting jobs, and they expect more of your money for less staff. All right, cool. Pete Buttigieg, former Secretary of Transportation, high-profile Democratic Party figure, and potential 2028 presidential hopeful, on Friday he said that authorities were called to his house over allegations in what seemed to be an effort to target him politically, according to him. It temporarily led to him being separated from his two children. That is, that's deeply unfortunate. That's awful to hear. I mean, nobody should have to be separated from their children. Jeez.
He and his husband were swatted this week and separated from their children.
Well, that's not necessarily swatting. It's Child Protective Services showing up.
Buttigieg says he learned about the allegation when Children's Protective Services and a police officer came to their house in Michigan. Apparently, someone made an anonymous false report accusing him of being a threat to his 4-year-old twins.
Wow.
The separation lasted 24 hours. Michigan State Police and CPS determined that the report was untrue. Buttigieg is calling for civil or criminal charges over the incident.
Well, I think that you should definitely figure out who made the accusation, that's for sure. I know that it's anonymous, you know what I mean, so there's no real way to do it, unfortunately. They might be able to in this instance, I don't know. The Supreme Court has ruled Thursday that the Trump administration can cancel temporary protected status for thousands of Haitians and Syrians, concluding that the Department of Homeland Security has broad discretion with little to no judicial oversight. to decide when they must return somebody home. So listen, this is making a lot of communities nervous, Haitians, Syrians, all of the like. I don't love the idea that people are going to be made anxious about this. However, there's arguments to be made about whether or not certain individuals, certain countries, should have been granted this status in the first place.
Shockwaves are being felt in immigrant communities after the Supreme Court cleared the way for the Trump administration to remove legal protections from hundreds of thousands of Haitians and Syrians in the U.S. The justices ruled 6-3 that courts have no power to second-guess the administration's decision to end those protections. The ruling ends what's called temporary protected status for roughly 350,000 Haitians, many of whom have lived and worked here legally for years, after fleeing violence or natural disasters like the 2010 Haiti earthquake. Most will now have to leave the U.S. or face deportation. Springfield, Ohio made headlines during the 2024 campaign when then-candidate Trump spread unsubstantiated claims about its more than 10,000 Haitian immigrants eating pets.
We've already discussed the Haitian situation. We've talked about the body cam footage of the one woman who was caught eating a cat, allegedly. You know, we can go over that eventually later.
They're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats.
Springfield's community leaders say families are stunned, and industry groups warn it could have serious consequences on the nation's elder care workforce, where tens of thousands of Haitians work as nurses and home health aides. The court also revived a policy allowing border agents to turn away asylum seekers before they ever set foot on U.S. soil.
That's not a bad idea.
Stephen Miller now declaring the country's asylum system all but shut down.
So America's doors are closed fully to asylum seekers. We've set up agreements where if you want asylum, then we will find a country elsewhere in the world to take you. It's very simple, very elegant, a very complete solution.
Very simple, very elegant, very complete solution. Don't use such finalistic language. It sounds very final solution. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to make a Nazi comparison. You're just the one who's using very, finalistic language. I think it makes your team not look the greatest. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about our final story. Joe Biden really is a throwback to an era that a lot of people are already having fade from memory. I've talked to so many people that already feel, they've told me the Biden years feel like a fever dream at this point. They don't even remember them. Well, okay, he had a little bit of difficulties this weekend at the Maryland Democratic Party's, what is this thing called? The Democrat Party's 2026 Fight Back and Win Gala in Maryland. Oh, that's such a gay name. Well, he had some troubles. He was heckled. He, stumbled with his words a little bit, but he got off one good shot where he was like, Trump, what a loser. And then everybody cheered. And, really, it's just kind of nostalgic to see his face again. It's impressive that he's able to talk. I'm going to warn you right now, though. In the clips that I play for you, you're going to be confused about what he's trying to say. Hello!
Maryland Democrats.
We missed you, Joe. You're crazy, man. Just get to it, buddy. God. It's crazy to see him again.
From above. You know, it's my father.
What?
He's the son of Baltimore. Biden family, Robert family have been in Maryland since the early 1800s. I tell you what, my dad was always proud to say where he's from, no matter where we live in. He's in Baltimore. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Democrats, excuse me. I suspect many of you have come here tonight seeking some hopeful and news amid an indelibly dark time.
Oh my God.
Folks, I know the Democratic Party. I fought for my whole life. I'm still fighting for it now. That's why I'm here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Support Maryland Democrats.
Yep, okay.
That's why. I travel to South Dakota, South Carolina, Nebraska, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
For Democrats up and down the ballot and all over this country.
Minnesota.
Just like I've done my whole life.
Oh my God.
I know the story of the Democratic Party. I I've seen it times of triumph and trouble. Because I've lived it, I also know the story of America, like many of you. It's a constant push and pull between peril and possibility.
Oh my God, yep.
It's a battle that's never truly over.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I have no idea what she's saying.
I can't sugarcoat it. These are indeed dark days. Let's remember. We are one of the only countries in the world that's come face to face with every crisis we've faced stronger than we went into it. Every single time we come out stronger than we went in.
What?
Time and again throughout our history.
Okay, yeah.
We Americans have some of the better angels of our nature.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Brought our country back from the brink.
Yep. All right. Well, okay. I'm not going to waste anybody else's time. He inspired nobody with these remarks. Listen, it's really, really tough to take inspiration from a 118-year-old. It's tough. It's so tough. He didn't even have it when he was a kid, in all honesty. He didn't have the spunk. He didn't have the resilience factor. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I had a wonderful time gathering these stories for you. I hope you had an even more wonderful time listening to them. I cannot wait for tomorrow's episode. We got the rest of the week. If you want to be there for all of them, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications like if you liked it. In the meantime, I have been Ollie Vogt Larson with your Brain on Air. Thank you so very much for listening. I'll catch you in the next episode, and bye-bye.